Darling, I've got a little thing planned for you, but we'll need to travel back to Whiterun first.
Oh, what is it?
It's a surprise. Can't be giving you too many details just yet.
Sounds very mysterious.
Aye. Every time I look at you, I fall in love all over again.
Can you pack up the campsite?
Sure thing.
Good dog. That.
Wolf Queen, hear our call and awaken. We summon Potema. We summon Potema. Long have you slept the dreamless sleep of death, Potema. No longer. Hear us, Wolf Queen. We summon you. We summon Potema. Yes! Yes! Return me to this realm! As our voices summon you, the blood of the innocent binds you, Wolf Queen.
With all I am, and yet my heart.
My blade is thirsty for blood!
How did they find us? The way you look after a fight, all wild and so fucking alive. Gods, I need to kiss you. Right the fuck now.
Something is wrong. There is an intruder.
What was that? John.
Never mind. Does help ease the pain. Just another bunch of sycophantic cultists trying to bend evil to their will. It never ends well for them though. They never learn. Best hurry back and tell Firebeard he'll probably shit his pants, no doubt. I've never met a politician that wasn't corrupt.
You've returned. Good. What did you find at Wolfskull Cave?
Some necromancers were attempting to summon and bind Potema.
Potema herself? Please tell me you stopped them.
I interrupted their ritual. It's done.
You've done a larger service to the realm than you could possibly know. A resurrected Potema. I shudder at the thought.
There's something personal I was hoping you would do for me.
What can I do for you, Jarl?
Falk told me what you did for us at Wolfskull Cave. He says you're someone we can trust. As you may know, Talos worship is outlawed in the Empire. When we buried my husband, I made offerings to all the gods, except Talos. I would like you to take an item of his, a Warhorn handed down from his father, and place it at a shrine of Talos.
I would be honored to help.
Thank you. It would mean a lot to me.
Why am I not surprised? Privately practicing what they publicly condemn. Alright, so I'll need you to stay here for a short time. I need to go and make some arrangements. Farkas and Vilkas will let you know when it's time to leave.
I'm excited to see what you have in store.
Aye, I know we're newlywed and you probably didn't expect me to go running off. But that's part of the reason I want to do this now, while the memory of our vows is fresh in your mind.
Okay, so just wait here.
Aye, there's plenty to do in the city, but you'll be safe here while I'm gone.
How will I know where to meet you?
When it's time for you to depart Whiterun, Farkas and Vilkas will escort you safely to your next destination. Leave everyone else behind. Journey only with them. I'll be counting the seconds until I see your face again. Goodbye for now, my love.
Come to chat with an old woman, hmm? Do your good deed for the day.
Good dog.
Wait here.
Or did you just need something?
It's time to depart, Wolfling. Your husband awaits you, but he's asked us to stop somewhere first. I'll mark it on your map. Farkas and I will be right next to you all the way.
Can I get any clues about this mysterious journey?
I am afraid not. Kaidan made some vague threats about rearranging my face, were I to let slip any of his plans.
That sounds like him.
Come then, let's be off. We have quite a way to travel. Careful there.
Stay out of trouble, elf.
How can I assist,
What have you got for sale?
Take a look. May your road lead you to warm sands.
pissing me off.
It's over already.
Be careful.
That is rather disappointing. Easy there. You're always in such a rush, Wolfling, that you don't necessarily watch where you are stepping.
Yeah, that one was on me. I only need to know one thing. What you need me to kill, and how much ale I get. Here you go, little wolf. This is from Kaidan.
A letter? Where is he?
He's not here, and we're not done with this little trip yet. But don't worry. The next spot we need to go isn't that much farther. I'll mark it down for you now, okay?
What did he bribe you with to get you to do this?
I would never accept a bribe to help him out. There might have been some sweet rolls involved.
Note from Kaidan. My beloved Lyria, we once traveled this road together. I remember pausing here with you and looking at the great city, a place that would change your destiny, but not nearly as much as you've changed mine. This city is where you were first proclaimed Dragonborn. But for me, it changed nothing. You already had my heart, even if I didn't know it yet. Ken.
Over here.
What's that? What was that?
I'll tear you to pieces.
You start running.
True Nords never back down. Sure have mercy on you. I'll rip you in half.
So much easier to rope when you're dead.
You're a disgrace to your own kind.
Can't wait to count out your coin.
I'll rip you in half.
I think you're bleeding.
What was that?
Can't hide from me. Not impressed. No!
Is this a social visit? Or do you have need of my sword arm? What is it, little one? All right, Wolfling. Another note from Kaidan. I did not realize he was quite such a prolific writer.
Really? He writes a lot.
What things does he write?
Notes to me, mostly.
Well, then I suppose he is continuing that habit. Perhaps I could read these letters. I could swear on Mikael's life that I would never use them to poke fun at Kaidan's romantic endeavors.
Absolutely not.
Fair enough. We're meeting Kaidan just down the road from here. It's very close. But he asked if you would read his letter at this place.
Note from Kaidan. Lyria, my little dragon. We once crossed this bridge and I saw you watching the stream. I should have been looking for danger, maybe seeing if there were any fish in the water for our supper, but you took my breath away. In that moment, you were the only thing I could see. You eclipsed the beauty here. Okay.
Dragonborn, you were safe on the journey here?
Yes, I got your notes along the way.
I wanted you to see those places the way I see them. Little dragon, the next part is just for you and I.
Fargus, Vilgus, thank you for,
for everything.
We were happy to help, Kaidan. Take care on the rest of the journey. It's a steep climb.
Anytime, brother. Now, about those sweet rolls.
Shut it, pup. Let Kaidan and his beloved focus on more important things than your pastries.
Thank you both. Again. You read the letters?
Yes.
The thing is, I walked that road alone plenty of times before I knew you. I crossed the bridge out of Whiterun, set off west, followed the river, camped out in a few of those caves along the way after I'd cleared them out of any existing inhabitants.
You wanted to walk it alone again?
I did. I wanted to remember.
Remember what?
How it felt before the first time that I walked it and really saw it. Felt the forest's breeze at my back and the sun's warmth on my face. Heard the birdsong and smelt the pine needles under my boots.
When was that?
The day I first walked it with you. It was as if I'd been living under a cloud my whole life. Sometimes the cloud rained down furious lightning and thunder. Other times it was just grey and grim. A man who has always lived in the darkness doesn't miss the light, you see. I never thought before, when I walked that road, that I was missing anything at all. And then you came along. And it was like the sun had burst through and shined down on me. And I wanted to walk that road alone one more time, to remind myself to never take that warmth and that light for granted.
And now we're here where we met. Why?
You mean you don't want to have our honeymoon in a damp and mouldy prison? Perhaps you should have mentioned that earlier, darling.
Kaidan.
I'm only joking. It's, well, this place, and walked past it before as a prisoner here. I heard some rumours that the Thalma used it for interrogation, so I never tarried long. And then I was locked up. And I thought I would die here. Thought I'd never again breathe the air as a free man.
Seems so long ago now when we met.
It seems like a lifetime ago. And in a way, I suppose it was.
What do you mean?
Well, that day I started living. Really living. Not running from enemies unknown or taking on bounties after bounty, wondering which would be the one that would end me. Drinking enough to pass out into a dreamless sleep. You gave me clarity and purpose. My oath in this place, even as it bound me to you, also freed me. I wanted to come here with you. But our journey is not quite over yet, little dragon.
Oh?
You've walked the road where the sun shone down on me for the first time. Met me at a place I first saw your face so long ago. We have a little further to go now. But you'll need to trust me. As if I entrusted everything that I am to you. Do you? Trust me.
I do.
Put this on. You won't be able to see the next part of our journey, but I'll be with you all the way. Well, here we are. Well, here we are.
Kaidan, it's beautiful. You did all this?
Aye, I made haste from Whiterung, then bolted back down the mountain face to meet you at the prison.
I love it, thank you.
I remember thinking the last time we were here, you seemed to like the view.
If I remember right, so did you.
Sweetheart, when you're around I have the finest view in Tamriel. But there's another reason I wanted to come back here.
Oh, what's that?
I was looking for clues to my history when we met. Tracking down my family. When we came here, I realized that I was so close to the answers I'd been seeking all my life. It never occurred to me that my family was already with me. Do you remember when I asked for your hand in marriage?
Of course.
You are my home, no matter how far we wander. No man has spoken truer words. You are my family, my home, my refuge. I will always be indebted to you for helping me find the answers I was seeking, but truthfully in you, I'd already found the answer to every question that I could ask. I wanted to bring you here, so I could give you a view that is almost as lovely as the one you give me every time you grace me with a smile. But pales in comparison. I wanted to bring you here so that I could see you in the place where my life began. And for you to know that life would be so very hollow a thing without you in it. I wanted to bring you to the last place my mother was, so that if her spirit watches me, she'll know that I chose a rare woman, and that I will love her fiercely. Every day of my life. Wherever we wander, whatever adventures may come, I will be with you all the way.
The Ferry by Tun Triop. Ferry have been in Tamriel, in all probability long before recorded history, perhaps since or before the days of the Elder Ones. The tales of their mischief are found in every culture, in most every village, town, and city-states in the Empire. Alternately, they are called Fairy, Fae, Iliadi, Sprites, Pixies, and Sylphin, and their natures seem to flit from one story to the next with the same variation. It could almost be said the fairies are anything unpredictable in nature. The noted scholar Artabazus, studying at the time in the Crystal Tower of Somerset Isle, developed an interesting, if controversial, theory about fairy. He recognized the Fae variants on a chain, beginning with the glimmering sparks called pixies, or willoki, by the red guards at one end of the godlike beings as the Gaetus, Conus, and Sirgia at the other. In the middle are human and semi-human beings, generating up to intelligent trees, brooks, rocks, even mountains. All of this was a new and completely original theory, and would have prompted enthusiastic, if somewhat skeptical, response, had Artabazus not added this footnote. It may be that elves as a whole are part of this chain, above Willoki and below Nephrine. They certainly have similar features and propensities for magicka as the other fairy. Artabazus, the fairy chain, first hold 2E456. No elf liked to be put in a hierarchy slightly above whimsical pranksters like the Williki, and Artabazus was challenged on his assumptions based on very slight coincidences. Nevertheless, with modification, his fairy chain theory has gained wider and wider acceptance since its publication. The hierarchical chain is not, in the strictest sense, an order of command. While Gaetus and Sugia are said to be surrounded by a host of minor sylphin, fairy on the whole are not followers nor leaders. Their plans and schemes are not governed by a higher purpose, simply by their own whim. To this, most fairy scholars agree, because it is based on coincidental evidence and supported by auxiliary theories. It may very well be wrong.
Dwemer History and Culture by Hasvet Antopoulos. A scholar's review of the Dwemer essays written by Morabor Sol. While Marobar Sol's ancient tales of the Dwemer was definitively debunked in scholarly circles as early as the reign of Catariah I, it remains one of the staples of the literate middle classes of the empire, and has served to set the image of the Dwemer in the popular imagination for generations of schoolchildren. What about this lengthy but curiously insubstantial tome has proved so captivating to the public that it has been able to see off both the scorn of the literati and the scathing critiques of the scholars? Before examining this question, a brief summary of the provenance and subsequent career of ancient tales would be appropriate. First published around 670 of the Second Era in the interregnum between the fall of the First Cyrodiilic Empire and the rise of Tiber Septim, it was originally presented as a serious scholarly work based on research in the archives of the University of Gwynland, and in the chaos of that era was taken at face value, a sign of the sad state of Dwemer scholarship in those years. Little is known of the author, but Marobar Sol was most likely a pseudonym of Gorfellam, a prolific writer of penny dreadful romances of that era, who is known to have many other pseudonyms. While most of Fellam's other work has thankfully been lost to history, what little survives matches ancient tales in both language and tone. See Lomas, textual comparison of Gorfellam's A Hypothetical Treachery with Marobar Sol's Ancient Tales of the Dwemer. Fellam lived in Cyrodiil his whole life, writing light entertainments for the elite of the old imperial capital. Why he decided to turn his hand to the Dwemer is unknown, but it is clear that his research consisted of nothing more than collecting the peasants' tales of the Nibene Valley and recasting them in Dwemer guise. The book proved popular in Cyrodiil, and Fellam continued to churn out more volumes until the series numbered 7 in all. Ancient Tales of the Dwemer was thus firmly established as a local favorite in Cyrodiil, already in its 17th printing, when the historical forces that propelled Tiber Septim to prominence also began to spread the literature of the heartland across the continent. Marobar Sol's version of the Dwemer was seized upon in a surge of human racial nationalism that has not yet subsided. The Dwemer appear in these tales as creatures of fable and light fantasy, but in general they are just like us. They come across as a bit eccentric, perhaps, but certainly there is nothing fearsome or dangerous about them. Compare these to the Dwemer of early Redguard legend, a mysterious, powerful race capable of bending the very laws of nature to their will, vanished but perhaps not gone. Or the Dwemer portrayed in the most ancient Nord sagas, fearsome warriors tainted by blasphemous religious practices, who used their profane mechanisms to drive the Nords from Morrowind. Marobar Sol's Dwemer were much more amenable to the spirit of the time, which saw humans as the pinnacle of creation and the other races as unenlightened barbarians or imperfect lesser versions of humans eager for tutelage. Ancient Tales falls firmly in the latter camp, which does much to explain its enduring hold on the popular imagination. Marobar Sol's Dwemer are so much more comfortable, so much friendlier, so much more familiar than the real Dwemer, whose truly mysterious nature we are only beginning to understand. The public prefers the light, trivial version of this vanished race, and from what I have learned in my years of studying the Dwemer, I have some sympathy for that preference. As the following essays will show, the Dwemer were, to our modern eyes, a remarkably unlikable people in many ways.
Dwemer Inquiries, Volume 1, Their Architecture and Civilization, by Thelway Gillane, Scholar. Part of a series of scholarly essays on the elusive Dwemer. In the deep halls, far from men, forsaken red mountain, twisted kin, hail the mind, hail the stone, dwarven pride, stronger than bone. It has been my life's work to investigate the Dwemer, their dubious history, and mysterious banishment. My goal with this text is to share my findings and conclusions based on 80 years spent studying their unique architectural remains. The migration of the Deep Elves from their ancestral Dwemereth, now Morrowind, is a generally accepted fact. Recorded history supports this, specifically mentioning the Rorken clan's refusal to join King Dumak in the forming of the First Council, and their subsequent exodus to Hammerfell. The architectural premise is also sound, as the building habits of the dwarves adapted and changed, albeit slowly and in subtle ways, over time and land. I propose that some of these differences are stylistic as well as practical. The traditional viewpoints suggest that the Vardenfell Dwemer were the most prolific of their kind. Based on my excavations throughout Skyrim, Morrowind, and High Rock, I am not sure that this is the case. While Vardenfell is almost cluttered with dwarven ruins poking through the surface of the landscape, the construction of those ruins is fundamentally different from the majority of what I've observed elsewhere. Further, as we delve into Vardenfell ruins, we notice that their internal structure is quite different. While major civic and operational chambers are found near the surface in a Vardenfell ruin, that is not typically the case on the mainland. Minor passageways and storehouse rooms are near the surface, but more important locations don't occur until we explore much deeper. Because such major locations are well hidden in Dwemer ruins outside of Morrowind, many scholars believe that they were in fact not present in ruins outside that province. This premature conclusion led some to believe such sites to be mere outposts. My research has shown this not to be the case. There are a few theories that may explain this difference. Perhaps clan architects simply had their own styles and preferences when it came to civic planning. This seems only somewhat likely, as dwarven techniques were based on empirical study. There was likely little room for creative interpretation when it came to building technique. Geological makeup of the terrain almost certainly played a role, especially in a region like northern Skyrim, where the ground near the surface is very rocky and often frozen, versus the volcanic substratum common in Vardenfell or the ubiquitous aquifers found in Hammerfell. It's possible the dwarven architects in the north were not even able to excavate larger structures until reaching more pliable stratum. The scholar would like to suggest, however, that many structures west of Morrowind were built after First Era 420. When the clan Rorken left Vardenfell, it seems evident that several clans broke off to create their own settlements, and chose to live together in greater isolation than their eastern brethren. This theory is particularly fascinating because it leads me to believe that dwarven architects may have developed even more elaborate methods of hiding their strongholds over time. This opens the distinct possibility that undisturbed dwarven archaeological sites exist throughout Tamriel, even in southern areas like Cyrodiil or Blackmarsh, where dwarves are not believed to have ever had a significant presence. Though we ought not get carried away on flights of fancy, one could extrapolate this logic to suggest that some dwarven clans were living among us for much longer than previously believed, perhaps well beyond the disappearance during the War of Red Mountain in First Era 700. Dwemer Inquiries, Volume 2, Their Architecture and Civilization, by Thelway Gillane, Scholar. Part of a series of scholarly essays on the elusive Dwemer. In the deep halls far from men, forsaken red mountain, twisted kin, hail the mind, hail the stone, dwarven pride, stronger than bone. The limited written record supports the perception of the Deep Elves as culturally revering the pursuits of logic and science. This stands in stark contrast to the belief system of most other Mer cultures. When we imagine a society structured around such a central ideology, it seems reasonable that prolific scholars, especially in fields such as mathematics, metallurgy, or architecture, would be elevated to social status like that of clergy in a more mystically inclined culture. The idea is supported by a fragment of Dwemer's text recovered from a colony in Skyrim, Erkingthand, which I believe to be associated with the clan Rorken. The original Dwemerus and my translation follow. Risen by order, cousin of privilege, Kualek of Shezaline, privileged duties. Clan home, building Huagin Kultura tradition to hailed world shaper. To raise granted cousin Kualek, of privilege, with duties for family home building, Huagin Kultura tradition to Father Mundus shaper. Some scholars interpret this as evidence of Dwemer worship of Mundus, but I do not agree. My translation of this passage suggests that a respected Dwemer by the name of Kualek was promoted to a civic position, probably tonal architect. The latter half of the fragment suggests that Kualek's position requires him to build in a specific style. The term Huagin Kultura has thus far eluded me, but I believe it may be the name of such a style. It's possible there were several styles, differing in their construction principles and typical structures. One earmark of what I believe was the prevalent Dwemer style among northern clans was a feature I call the deep venue. Deep venues are often characterized as being made up of one or more expansive natural caverns in which several other structures will occur. The structures within the venue may be carved from the stone itself or freely erected upon the cavern floor. The largest and most impressive venues, such as that found at Bethardams, may even feature roads wide enough for 10 large men to walk shoulder-meet shoulder along it. Arcanics are typically smaller structures. Very few have been properly studied before disruption by grave robbers or greedy adventurers. But those few undisturbed sites have contained a surprising collection of magical objects, such as soul gems, alchemical concoctions, and magical texts. Some scholars take these as evidence that the Dwemer did, in fact, dabble in the magical arts, based on what we know of their culture, as well as the fact that most arcanics are minor structures compared to other common fixtures. I would suggest that these were centers of study and nothing more. Perhaps the dwarves established these halls as a means to study men and Mer, who surely seemed as alien to them as the Dwemer seem to us today. Great animalculatories can be found in many dwarven strongholds. These were the factories where the centurions and various other constructs were built. I have hoped to study these chambers for clues as to the means by which those mysterious automata are given life. But those same guardians make these especially difficult and dangerous areas to explore.
Little dragon.
How long can we stay here?
As long as you want.
Forever?
Eventually we'll need to return to the world, but until you're ready, the world can wait. When you are, let me know, and we can head off.
What do you need?
Let's rest here.
I'm with you there. Aye, sweetheart?
Let's talk.
I'm at your service.
Kaidan, I was thinking of a long trip from one side of Skyrim to the other.
Bugger that. You have a wonderful laugh. I love that about you. The way the light shines from your soul.
Let's talk.
My lovely lady.
Kaidan, do you have any good survival advice?
Here. I've got 2 survival tips for you. Never piss in the wind, and don't eat yellow snow.
Seriously, Kai?
You asked for it.
Would you read from this book to me?
Another one? Alright. Alright, give it here. Right, here it goes. Mysterious Akavir. Akavir means Dragonland. Tamriel means Dawn's Beauty. Atmora means Elder Wood. Only the Red Gods know what Yokuda ever meant. Ah, this is actually a good book. Akavir is the kingdom of the beasts. No men or mer live in Akavir, though men once did. These men, however, were eaten long ago by the vampiric serpent folk of Taiski. Had they not been eaten, these men would have eventually migrated to Tamriel. It's interesting to read about my ancestry. It explains my warrior spirit. I'll have to finish reading this by a fire, eh? You're a bit pale. Need a drink? Come on, take a few sips for me, my love. What can I do for you?
Come on, we've got stuff to do.
We better get our horses in action then, eh? I'm always at your service, day or night.
I think I'm ready to leave now. Thank you for this.
Anything for you. Always. Okay, alright, hang on. Okay, this one seems easier. Het nog kopbrand digger, for fuck's sake. Woke no brand, kumolake no svara, haluto, live kalasa. Well, there's something about grinding something. Yeah, no. This is your area of expertise. I'll stick to our language instead. We should look for game while we're out here. You want to do this the hard way? Fine. You can go to hell.
You're dead!
Now that's done, how about we catch your breath, have a sip of water, and maybe I can steal a victory kiss or two, eh?
Never should have come here. You won't get the best of me. What was that?
I'll be fine. But I find it a bit thrilling to watch. You know what I mean? Bit of both, methinks. What the fuck is that?
Looky here, looks like we got ourselves a hero. Just a scratch! It'll be so much easier to rob when you're dead! Come on! Come on! No!
That wildness has a charm of its own. Let's go.
Means you useless disease, little shit! Well done.
Could have gone worse, I suppose.
What was that?
Thought I heard
It's the
something.
dragon of the north! Die, damn you!
As easy as that.
I'm sorry, I should really go now.
Oh, I think I just stepped in a pile of horse shit.
You have the Jarl's confidence, friend, and so you have mine.
It's a fine day with you around. If you have business, please see Falk Firebeard, my steward. Excellent. You've done us a great service. Here is your reward.
I've placed the horn at the shrine.
Falk said I could count on you. You have more than earned the right to purchase property and take the next step to becoming a Thane. Speak to Falk when you have the funds, and thank you. Be well. Pray for solitude.
May the gods watch over your battles, friend.
I'd like to purchase a house in the city.
Splendid. There's a house available right now.
I'll take it.
Wonderful. Here is the key to your new home.
Did you see Firebeard shit himself at the mere thought of Patema returning? I've never met a politician that wasn't corrupt.
Thane Bryling, at your service.
If you have business, please see Falk Firebeard, my steward.
My Jarl, is there anything else you need?
There is room in my court for a new Thane. It's an honorary title mainly, but there are a few perks someone like you could make use of. However, I could only grant the title to someone who is known throughout my hold, and who owns at least one piece of property in my city. You help my people and purchase a house from my steward, and I'll make you my Thane.
It would be an honor.
Good luck to you. Be well. Pray for Solitude and my husband.
Can I kiss you?
Mm-hmm.
Heard what you did. Killing those foul witches. Well done, companion.
Fresh
Spiced
fish.
wine.
Fresh
the
fish.
taste of home and heart.
Arms and armor. You have the Jarl's confidence, friend. So you have mine.
Why, hello. Here to buy? If you have to ask the price, you might be in the wrong store. Thank you for your patronage. Oh, what delight. Another charming customer. Oh, let me just drop everything to help you. I don't mind. Really.
I'd like to make an investment in your business.
Excellent. I think you'll be glad that you made this decision.
Let's see what you can do with this.
Thank you. I'll be sure to put it to good use. Finally.
This please.
You know you can afford a septim or two.
The Emperor's cousin Vittoria Vici is getting married soon. The reception will be public. Anyone in Solitude can attend.
The Imperials are good for business, and business is good for Skyrim.
If you have business, please see Falk Firebeard, my steward.
I've helped your people as you asked.
Then by my right as Jarl, I name you Thane of Hafengar. Congratulations. I grant you a personal housecarl to watch over your home, and this weapon from my armory to serve as your badge of office. I'll also notify my guards of your new title. Wouldn't want them to think you're part of the common rabble now. Be well. Pray for Solitude and my husband.
Bryling's obsession with honor and tradition is quaint, but politically irrelevant.
Heard about you and your honeyed words.
Tools, wares, and weapons. All for sale at fair prices.
Move on, friend. I have nothing to sell today. Khajiit welcomes
welcome to you,
and
fellow
also your
traveler.
coin.
I welcome you, friend. How may I serve you?
What have you got for sale?
Take a look.
May your road lead you to warm sands.
You've got
You're
nothing
scared,
to dragon for.
Goods and wares of all kinds, and all can be yours. Fortune
Welcome to
smiles upon his knees.
Let it simmer. That one looked like it had pretty odds.
He hired the others and paid for my goods. I am allowed to run the caravan, but I pay Rissad a percentage of my profits. I say this without bitterness, for it was Rissad who saved me from a life of servitude aboard a trading ship. I am grateful to have the life that I do now. It is a far cry from my days as an orphan on the streets of Corinth.
Has the war made your travels difficult?
Quite the opposite, in fact. The soldiers are some of our best customers, for we offer supplies and wares they cannot obtain by other means. It was Risad's idea to come here now, while the land is in turmoil. Where others saw only danger, he saw opportunity.
What have you got for sale?
Take a look.
I want to thank you for the honor of curating over this fantastic collection you've amassed. It is the envy of every rarity collector across all of Tamriel.
The museum is well on its way to being filled,
and I want to commemorate our achievement together. This is the Sword of the Ancient Tongues. I had this ancient blade restored by Yorlan Greymane, possibly his greatest work. The blade has massive power, but will only be able to be unlocked by the Dragonborn. Wield it with pride, my friend. You will be hard-pressed to find a better blade.
Fancy seeing you.
Letter from Erwin. Dear brother, are you well? I heard this terrible rumor that you died. You always said I'd be the one to kill you. That wasn't very nice of you to break a promise to your only sister. Unless there's another sister you didn't tell me about. So now you're not only dead, but you're a liar, too? Anyway, I know you love to read, so I'll keep this short. Let me know if you're not dead, so I can come over and hug you with my knife. Erwin. Kargrash's letter. To whomever finds this letter, hear my story. My name is Kargrash. I've been a hunter on these parts for the last 6 years. Once a week, I travel to Solitude to sell meat and skins. On one such trip, I spotted a collapsed figure by the roadside, slumped up against a log. I quickly realized that this was Antheris, kind soul I would trade and travel with each winter. His skin was white as a sheet. His sunken face and bite marks on his neck and arms made it clear that this was the work of vampires. Antheris never deserved such a fate. I carried him to Solitude to raise the city guard. When I arrived, they acted with indifference, as cold as the corpse I lay before them. They'd seen this before, they said. They offered to bury him, but their interest in the matter ended there. It was then I decided that, at night, I would begin to hunt more dangerous game. I have slain over a dozen of the fanged wretches in the months since. In fact, I've become quite proficient at the task. Until one night I found a lone vampire prowling the woods. He stopped to rest, seemingly unable to catch his breath. Whether it was from thirst or exhaustion, I couldn't be sure. Still, such monsters deserve no pity, so I hid in the brush nearby, drew my crossbow, and lined up the killing shot. Suddenly, 2 of the devils pounced from both sides, clawing and biting. I had been led into a trap. I managed to escape, but my wounds were grave. Worse, I knew from the burning in my veins that I now had the illness that would soon consume me, turn me into one of them. So now, on what should be my final days immortal, I penned this letter, and walked to my favorite overlook south of Thalmor Embassy to watch the morning sunrise one last time. I now pass the torch to you, dear reader. Seek out my remains. Among my effects you should find a key. Open my cellar and take up arms I have stored there. Use them to keep travelers safe from the vampire menace, as I once did. Khajiit's note. Khajiit found a lead on Edward. It seems he and his bandit friends fled north to Skyrim, but when he spoke to the guard captain, he tells Khajiit the bounty on Edward has already been claimed. A ripe old adventurer showed up at the barracks on a horse, dragging the Breton's corpse up behind him. They tell Khajiit the body is buried at the far end of the cemetery in Falkreath. Khajiit will take a shovel and dig him up. After all, there are ways to die and not be dead. Khajiit has heard of potions that mimic death, slowing the heart to barely beat. If so, then Edward might still be out there. To that end, this one has heard rumors of a bandit wearing Daedric plate, plying his blood trade at Knife Point Ridge. Originally, Khajiit did not think Edward the type to live in an abandoned mine, but now he is not so sure. Edward may have pulled the guard, but Khajiit won't believe he's truly dead until he sees it with his own eyes.
Lorcaelan's Orders by Elenwen. Agent Lorcaelan. In recent weeks, 2 prisoners have confessed to worshipping at a Talos Shrine in the hills above White River Gorge. This cult must not be allowed to go any further. Find the shrine, hunt down any heretics you find there. Take no prisoners.
Letter from Ulashro Sugars. Lyria, I know you killed him. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. In fact, I wanted to thank you. You will not be missed. Ulashro Sugars. Red Guards, Their History and Their Heroes. By Destry Mellon. Notes on the Red Guards, Their Histories and Their Heroes. This is a publisher's proof of the initial draft of my book, Red Guards, Their History and Their Heroes. Following is a collection of tales, myths, and history of the Red Guards. Much of their history is shrouded in mystery and in the mists of time. It's hard to distinguish between myths and real history. Author's note is translated into the modern tongue of Hammerfell. Frandar Hundi was born in 2356 in the Old Way of Reckoning in our beloved deserts in the Old Land. The traditional rule of emperors had been overthrown in 2012, and although each successive emperor remained a figurehead of the empire, his powers were very much reduced. Since that time, our people saw 300 years of almost continual civil war between the provincial lords, warrior monks, and brigands, all fighting each other for land and power. Our people once were artisans, poets, and scholars, but the ever-evolving strife made the way of the sword inevitable. The song of the blade through the air, through flesh and bone, its ring against armor, an answer to our prayers. In the time of Lord Frandar, the first warrior prince, lords called Yokeda built huge stone castles to protect themselves and their lands. Castle towns inside the walls began to grow up. In 2245, however, Mansell Sesnit came to the fore. He became the Elden Yokeda, or military dictator, and for 8 years succeeded in gaining control of almost the whole empire. When Sesnit was assassinated in 2253, Commoner took over the government. Randik Torn continued the work of unifying the empire which Sesnit had begun, ruthlessly putting down any traces of insurrection. He revived the old gulf between the warriors, the sword singers, and the commoners by introducing restrictions on the wearing of swords. Thorn's sword hunt, as it was known, meant that only the singers were allowed to wear swords, which distinguished them from the rest of the population. Although Torn did much to settle the empire into its pre-strife ways, by the time of his death in 2373, internal disturbances had not been completely eliminated. Upon his death, civil war broke out in earnest. War that made the prior 300 years' turmoil pale in comparison. It was in this period that Frandar Hunding grew up. Hunding belonged to the sword singers. This element of empire society grew from the desert artisans and was initially recruited from the young sons and daughters of the high families. They built the first temple to the unknown gods of war and built a training hall, the Hall of Virtues of War. Within a few generations, the way of the sword, the song of the blade, had become their life. The people of the blade kept their poetry and artisanship in building beautiful swords woven with magic and powers from the unknown gods. Greatest among them became known as Anse, or Saint of the Sword. Each of these began their own training schools, teaching their individual ways of the sword. Those Anse of the highest virtue wandered the countryside, engaging in battle, righting wrongs, and seeking to end the strife. To sum it up, Hunding was a sword singer, a master Anse at a time when the peak of the strife was reborn out of the chaos of Torn's death. Many singers put up their swords and became artists, for the pull of the artisan heritage was strong. But others, like Hunding, pursued the ideal of the warrior searching for enlightenment through the perilous paths of the sword. Duels of revenge and tests of skill were commonplace, and fencing schools multiplied. Frandar do Hunding hel Anse no Shira, or as he was commonly known, Frandar Hunding, was born in the far desert marches in the province of High Desert. Hunding is the name of the high desert region near where he was born. Noshira means noble person or person of noble birth, and Hel Anse is the title of his sword sainthood. Hunding's ancestors reach back to the beginning of recorded time in the high desert. They were artisans and mystics. His grandfather was a retainer of the Elden Yokiba, Manso Sesnit, and led many of the battles of unification prior to Sesnit's assassination. When he was 14, Hunding's father died in one of the many insurrections, and he was left to support his mother and 4 brothers. His prowess with the sword, however, made his life both difficult and easy. Easy in that his services came in great demand as a guardian and escort. Hard in that his reputation preceded him, and many awaited their turn to face him in battle and gain instant fame through his defeat. By the time Hunding was 30, he had fought and won more than 90 duels, killing all his opponents. He became virtually invincible with the sword, gaining such skill and mastery that he finally stopped using the real swords created through the artisanship of his people, and began using the Shahai, or way of the spirit sword. All sword singers learn through their intense training and devotion to the gods of war and way of the sword, forms of discipline that allow the creation of the spirit sword. This is a simple form of magic, or mind mastery, whereby an image of a sword is formed from pure thought. The sword singer forms the sword by concentrating, and it takes shape in his hand, usually a pale thing of light, misty and insubstantial, a thing of beauty perhaps, a symbol of devotion to the way and the gods, but no weapon. However, those outside the highest level and sensitivity and those with talent in magic can at times of stress form a spirit sword, the Shahai, which is far more than light and air. It is an unstoppable weapon of great might, a weapon which can never be taken from the owner without also taking his mind. The Shahai became Hunding's weapon, and with this he slew bands of brigands and wandering monsters that infested the land. Finally, upon finishing his 90th duel, defeating the evil Lord Janek and his 7 Lich followers, he was satisfied that he was indeed invincible. Hunding then turned to formulating his philosophy, the way of the sword. He wrote his learnings down in the Book of Circles while living as a hermit in a cave in the mountains of High Desert in his 60th year. In that year, Hunding, having enlisted in the many battles of the Empire, defeating all opponents, had thought himself ready for death and retired to his cave to capture his strategy and mystical visions to share with other sword singers. It was after his completion of the Scrolls of the Circle that the singers found him composing his death poem and preparing to join the gods of war in final rest. At 60, he was a vigorous man who thought himself through with life, but his people, the sword singers, needed him. They needed him as never before. Torn's sword hunt had separated the singers from the common people. The rise of the last emperor began the last great strife of the Desert Empire. The emperor and his consort Elisif's final effort was to wrest control of the empire from the people by destroying the sword singers. Yura vowed to search out every singer with his brigand army composed of orcs and cast-offs of the wars of the empire, and to scourge them from the face of the planet. The sword singers were never a numerous people. Harsh desert kept the births few, and growing up in the unforgiving wastes eliminated all but those of iron spirit and will. Thus the final strife, which became known as the War of the Singers, found the people of the sword unprepared and unready to join together their individually great skills into an army that could defend their homes and lives. Frandar Hunding was sought out, his death poem interrupted, and unceremoniously command of the singers was thrust upon him. To the unknown gods of war, great thanks is owed that Hunding had the time in his cave to write down the years of accumulated wisdom, strategy of the way of the Shahai. Singers fled from their camps up into the desert hills and mountains, fled to the foot of Hatu, father of the mountains, where Hunding had gone to write in peace and to die. And there these remnants formed into the army of the circle. They learned Hunding's way, his strategies, his tactics, and the final great vision for a master stroke. Hunding devised a plan of 7 battles, leading the armies of Hira further and further into the wilderness at the foot of Hatu, where the final battle could be fought. Hunding called his plan the Hammer and the Anvil. With each battle, Hunding's singers would further learn his strategies and tactics, grow strong in the use of the Shahai, be ready to defeat their opponents in the 7th battle. And thus it was, the 6 first battles were waged, each neither victory nor defeat. each leading to the next. The larger armies of Hira followed the small army of Hunding. Outnumbered 30-1, the singers never faltered from the way. The stage was set. Hira and his army maneuvered to the base of Hatu Mountain, where the hammer blow was delivered. The battle was pitched, and many singers fell that day. Hunding knew that the singers who lived would be few, but Hira and his empire of evil would not live, and so it went. In the end, Hunding and less than 20,000 singers survived the day, but no army of evil was left to pillage and murder. More than 300,000 fell that day on Hatu. Of those who were left to run and live, all were scattered to the four winds, and organized force no more. Singers packed their lives, folded their tents, mourned their dead, and followed Hunding to the great port city of Arch, in the province of Seawind. There Hunding had a flotilla of ships waiting. Singers left their desert for a new land. No longer welcomed the desert empire, they left to be sung about and spoken of in legend. The final great warrior, the singers of Shahai, the Book of Circles, all leaving that land where their virtue was unappreciated. Red, red with blood they were in the eyes of the gentle citizenry, never mind that they had saved them from a great evil. The singers vowed to learn new ways as they traveled across the great ocean to their new land, to adopt a new name, to honor the past. To honor this final battle, they named their new land Hammerfell, and adopted the name Redguards, in honor to Hunding, the great warrior prince. Each household in Hammerfell has a place by the hearth, an alcove really, just a niche, big enough to hold the scroll, the Book of Circles.
Beggar by Revan, the first chapter in the adventures of Eslaf Errol. It should be noted that though these books may appear to be an historical account, they are completely fictional, as indicated by the names of the major characters, each of which, when spelled backwards, gives a pretty clear indication to this fact. Eslaf Errol is false lore, La Paracopa apocryphal, Itluaf faulty, Inope phony, Leernu unreal, Suibud dubious, Lysifitra artificial, Druzba absurd, Ilekilnu unlikely. Even the author's name is never spelled backwards. Eslaf Errol was the last of the litter of 5 born to the queen of the prosperous Nordic kingdom of Erlgard, La Pyracopa, and her husband, the king of Erlgard, Itluaf. During pregnancy, the queen had been more than twice as wide as she was tall, and the act of delivery took 3 months and 6 days after it had begun. It is perhaps understandable that the La Pyracopa elected, upon expelling Eslaf, to frown, say, "Good riddance," and die. Like many Nords, Itluaf did not care very much for his wife, and less for his children. His subjects were puzzled, therefore, when he announced that he would follow the ancient tradition of his people of Atmora of following his beloved spouse to the grave. They had not thought they were particularly in love, nor were they aware that such a tradition existed. Still, the simple people were grateful, for the little royal drama alleviated their boredom, which was and is a common problem in the more obscure parts of northern Skyrim, particularly in wintertide. He gathered his household staff and his 5 fat, bawling little heirs in front of him and divided his estate. To his son Inope he gave his title, to his son Leernu he gave his land, to his son Suibud he gave his fortune, to his daughter Lysifitra he gave his army. Itluaf's advisors had suggested keeping the inheritance together for the good of the kingdom, but Itluaf did not particularly care for his advisors, or the kingdom for that matter. Upon making his announcement, he drew his dagger across his throat. One of the nurses, who was rather shy, finally decided to speak as the king's life ebbed away. "Your Highness, you forgot your 5th child, little Eslaf." Good Itluaf groaned. It is somewhat hard to concentrate with blood gushing from one's throat after all. The king tried in vain to think of something to bequeath, but there was nothing left. Finally he sputtered, irritably, Eslaf should have taken something then, and died. That a babe but a few days old was expected to demand his rightful inheritance was arguably unfair. But so Eslaf Errol was given his birthright with his father's dying breath. He would have nothing but what he had taken. Since no one else would have him, the shy nurse, whose name was Druzba, took the baby home. It was a decrepit little shack, and over the years that followed, it became more and more decrepit. Unable to find work, Druzba sold all of her furnishings to buy food for little Eslaf. By the time he was old enough to walk and talk, she had sold the walls and the roof as well, so they had nothing but a floor to call home. And if you've ever been to Skyrim, you can appreciate that that is scarcely sufficient. Druzhba did not tell Aslav the story of his birth, or that his brothers and sister were leading quite nice lives with their inheritances, for, as we have said, she was rather shy, and found it difficult to broach the subject. She was so painfully shy, in fact, that whenever he asked any questions about where he came from, Druzhba would run away. That was more or less her answer to everything, to flee. In order to communicate with her at all, Aslav learned how to run almost as soon as he could walk. He couldn't keep up with his adopted mother at first, but in time, he learned to go toe-heel if he anticipated a short but fast sprint, and heel-toe if it seemed Druzhba was headed for a long-distance marathon flight. He never did get all the answers he needed from her, but Aslav did learn how to run. The kingdom of Erelgard had, in the years that Aslav was growing, become quite a grim place. King Inope did not have a treasury, for Suibut had been given that. He did not have any property for income, for Laernu had been given that. He did not have an army to protect the people, for Lysifitra had been given that. Furthermore, as he was but a child, all decisions in the kingdom went through Inope's rather corrupt council. It had become a bureaucratic, exploitative land of high taxes, rampant crime, and regular incursions from neighboring kingdoms. Not a particularly unusual situation for a kingdom of Tamriel, but an unpleasant one nonetheless. The time finally came when the tax collector arrived to Druzhba's hovel, such as it was, to collect the only thing he could, the floor. Rather than protest, the poor shy maid ran away, and Aslav never saw her again. Without a home or a mother, Aslav did not know what to do. He had grown accustomed to the cold open air in Druzhba's shack, but he was hungry. "May I have a piece of meat?" he asked the butcher down the street. "I'm very hungry." The man had known the boy for years, often spoke to his wife about how sorry he felt for him, growing up in a home with no ceilings or walls. He smiled at Aslav and said, "Go away, or I'll hit you." Aslav hurriedly left the butcher and went to a nearby tavern. The tavern keeper had been a former valet in the king's court, and knew that the boy was by right a prince. Many times he had seen the poor ragged lad in the streets, and sighed at the way fate had treated him. "May I have something to eat?" Aslav asked the tavern keeper. "I'm very hungry." "You're lucky I don't cook you, eat you up," replied the tavern keeper. Aslav hurriedly left the tavern. For the rest of the day, the boy approached the good citizens of Erelgard, begging for food. One person had thrown something at him, but it turned out to be an inedible rock. As night fell, a raggedy man came up to Aslav and, without saying a word, handed him a piece of fruit and a piece of dried meat. The lad took it, wide-eyed, and as he devoured it, he thanked the man very sweetly. "If I see you begging on the streets tomorrow," the man growled, "I'll kill you myself. There are only so many beggars we of the guild allow in any one town, and you make it one too many. You're ruining business." It was a good thing Aslav Errol knew how to run. He ran all night. Aslav Errol's story is continued in the book Thief.